Apparently, you're about to get filled in. Philip DeFrancco has thrown his hat in the drama ring, it seems. Ethan Klein's situation got worse. The Onion bought InfoWars, Sydney Sweeney slams fake women, and more.
Beautiful bastards. Welcome back to the Philip DeFrancos Show, your daily dive into the news. We have so much to talk about today. Domestic and international, big, small, political, social, but let's start with some internet controversy news. This has really started blowing up more and more, so let's talk about Ethan Klein and Hasan Piker. They're both big creators in the streaming and podcast space. They're former co-hosts. But, with this specific situation, it starts and is mainly focused on Ethan Klein, who's facing backlash again. And this time, it was over a game that he played on his podcast yesterday.
Today, my friends, we are going to play the exciting game here. You at home, play along. We're going to play, is it Twitch or is it a terrorist? Let's take a look here, guys. Start.
There's more to the game, but even just that part right there alone, that faced tons of backlash. With a number of people think that it was wrong that the opening image was a side-by-side of Hasan Piker and Osama bin Laden. And in fact, at a later point in the game, you had someone from H3's team, AB, even calling that out.
I don't know who made this, but yeah, I'm not a fan of the Hasan and Osama on the front page. They need
at least if they're going to compare them, I'll guess.
And so with all this, it appears that they were playing a game from a website called twitchorterrorist.com. And to play, you had to read quotes and guess if a Twitch streamer or a terrorist said it. And they all ended up being Twitch streamer quotes, mostly from other creators by the name of Sneeko and Myron, who've been heavily criticized for anti-Semitism in the past for posts like these, which made its way into the game.
For the record, these guys aren't even Twitch streamers. And yes, it is insane to just put actual anti-Semites alongside people who are not anti-Semitic, but pro-Palestinian in an effort to be see, they're all terrorists. Look at all these guys. I didn't expect you to cover this. I wouldn't have, but Philly D is covering it.
But also,
yeah, Dan made this site, including all the other sites. Destiny's second in command.
Included one post each from Hassan and Frogan, who's another creator Ethan's called out and feuded with in the past. But again, most ended up being from creators Sneeko and Myron, so he ended up closing the game by saying,
"You're right though, that game sucks."
It was just not enough variety. It didn't prove anything because all the anti-Semites was just Myron and Sneeko.
And so all that happens, but then once the clips...
Damn, I can't believe that they couldn't find anti-Semitic quotes of me. Perhaps because I'm not an anti-Semite.
Of Ethan playing the game make their way to Twitter, there was backlash everywhere. With a number of people saying things like Ethan Klein comparing a Muslim anti-war content creator to Osama bin Laden. He got other Muslim and Jewish content creators banned for calling Sabra hummus the lowest tier commercial hummus because a lot of Israelis eat it. What the actual hell? As well as Islamophobia on full display. And if Ethan Klein actually cared about anti-Semitism instead of merely feeling disrespected...
Noah Colwyn? Whoa! I gotta text my mans. Be like, yo, you made it, Noah. You made it on the Philly D. You just got filled in. Or you're doing the filling in yourself. That's crazy. That's crazy.
He would consider what it means to represent Jewish people by being a non-stop whiny bigot. He even had some tagging YouTube social accounts to say that they're platforming racism and hate. And we even saw Hasan Piker himself responding, saying, "My former podcast co-host misunderstood me when I said in America that anti-Semitism is institutionally unacceptable, but Islamophobia is permitted if not encouraged. Yesterday, he proved my point." While that received a lot of support, you also had some people responding to Hasan.
Yeah. How is this Islamophobic? Hasan and his friends repeat terrorist talking points. It has nothing to do with Islam. Hasan, the game is funny. All you and your friends' talking points are indistinguishable for actual terrorists. In what way can you say Islamophobia is permitted unless you believe all Muslims are terrorists? These are literally 2003. We're back in 2003. These are the most 2003-ass. Please, I need you to see one of the terrorist quotes. Please, you'll never guess who it is. The truth is that after several decades of neoliberalism, the rich are becoming increasingly richer while the poor are both more numerous and increasingly poorer. Let's continue.
By defending Ethan in the game and accusing critics of misrepresenting it. But again, there was also a fair share of people echoing what Hasan said, with some also noting that this came after Ethan went on his Instagram stories to call out Hasan and accuse him of only pretending to care about anti-Semitism. And Ethan ended up responding to...
Which is crazy, by the way. That was also crazy. Only pretending to care about anti-Semitism is wild. I've stood by this man side by side, and we've dunked on anti-Semites together. You know what I mean? And anti-Semitism together. What is going on? Read his post is psychotic. I haven't even read any of this shit. Myron is an easy dunk. He makes it incredibly easy to virtue signal that you are against anti-Semitism. If Hasan cared about anti-Semitism, he would listen to his Jewish friend when he expressed his genuine concern for anti-Semitism festering in his own community. First of all, friend is wild. That's a wild thing to just drop in there after like a month of crash out post after crash out post demanding that an adpocalypse happen on Twitch because Twitch is housing Klansmen and that I am like an anti-Semite. That's wild to be like, oh, but I'm just your friend, your Jewish friend, which is also additionally crazy considering that I have a shit ton of Jewish friends. None of them agree with Ethan. That's insane. And we literally insta-ban anti-Semitism in this community. Like I personally do it regularly. But regardless, let's continue. He would not call Hassan Nasrallah a brilliant man or say he has no problem with Hezbollah, a man in his organization that has explicitly called for the genocide of Jews. Hassan, if you cared, you would read this instead of laughing about how crazy I am based on a chatter's brain dead summary of my post. I like that I addressed all of these talking points a million times over, but, yeah, there it is. I read it, and it still sounds crazy, okay? Contextualizing and offering analysis to how certain non-government organizations exist is not a de facto carte blanche defense of the way that they exist or the things that they do. Well, let's continue.
To call out Hassan and accuse him of only pretending to care about anti-Semitism.
Yeah, Myron's the easy
Ethan ended
dunk.
up responding.
Why is Hassan in a game called Twitch or Terrorist? Because he's accused of supporting terrorism by Ethan. What is this? Here's you explaining it. Hostile towards Muslims and outright hostile towards Palestinians from the actual state, right? There's anti-Semitism. This is absolutely true. Anti-Semitism is a gross hate crime. It is completely unacceptable. You and I are in agreement on this. I've combated anti-Semitism nonstop for the past 10 years.
That there's any people that hear that and they think, you know what, that means no, we got to get rid of all the Israelis. Do you think there's anyone that believes that?
That we have to get rid of all of the Israeli Jews in that area?
From the river
of
to
course,
the sea.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So,
there are anti-Semites. There are anti-Semites in the pro-Palestinian movement.
Do you think that it could be potentially misconstrued?
Can it be potentially misconstrued? Absolutely. Anything can be misconstrued.
So
Any slogan can be
in
misconstrued.
consideration of all these things, if it can be misconstrued, if it is believed by people to mean it that way, then I don't think Jews are outside of their right to say, hey, this phraseology.
The phrase that we're talking about is from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, by the way.
Makes me uncomfortable.
The conversation revolves around Palestinians, which, Muslims are a minority group in general, Palestinians an even smaller minority group, against Zionists, specifically Zionists who are maintaining the violent nature of the apartheid state in Israel. So in that structure, there are significantly more Zionists in America than there are Zionist Jews, and then there are anti-Zionist Jews. Zionist and anti-Zionist Jews are marginal because of the number of Jews in general on the planet, right? The much larger conversation is being had between Palestinian activists, which feature anti-Zionist Jews and anti-Zionists alike, some of which are anti-Semitic. I'm not going to say that they're not, okay? Versus the much broader, much larger Zionist community that is comprised almost entirely of Zionist evangelicals, Zionist Christians in general. That's the conversation that's being had about the state of Israel. You can criticize Saudi Arabia and do it from an Islamophobic perspective, but many people are never going to turn around and say you're being Islamophobic when you criticize Saudi Arabia. But when you criticize Israel, because the foreign ministry has maintained this position and this posture for a very long time, propped up by the likes of the ADL, this conflation is the immediate counter, and I think it's cynically deployed. In the grand scheme of things, throughout the history of Palestinian emancipation, which I will reaffirm my support for, I do believe it is just and I believe it is moral. Throughout that history, Hamas is but a mere blip. Hamas is but a mere blip, and even to this day is not has never reached broad popularity. The mantra itself predated Hamas and will continue to exist as long as there is an occupation. So having a conversation about the optics of a slogan
I'm
when
not
when
saying
11,000 Palestinians have been ruthlessly slaughtered by that same state is ridiculous to me. I think
not
it's
fair.
I think
This
it's uncharitable.
characterization is super unfair. I mean, you're
Why?
making it sound like I'm a fucking like. The concern for it has nothing to do with what the Israeli government is doing, the ethnic cleansing and murdering of Palestinians. It's got nothing to do with that. Invoking that is not fair. 57% of Gazans, by the way, and I'm not criticizing them. I understand why people would support Hamas during all this and who are in Gaza, but you say that, I mean, they have.
Yes, in 2017,
they
in
have right
2017,
support in the
Hamas
West Bank
changed its charter in order to
right.
gain international recognition.
It has wide support in Gaza and the West
In
Bank.
2017,
So
Hamas
so
changed
you're
its
saying-
charter in order to maintain its civil governance factions and also gain international recognition, as had prior terror cells like the ones that you mentioned that Ben Shapiro still considers a terrorist, like Yasser Arafat, as they try to do the exact same thing. You might not believe them. I do think that there are certainly still anti-Semitic people inside of Hamas, of course, but ultimately,
Not all of them?
Palestinian people saying that yeah, no, he's like not all of them.
You
They support
think there's
violent
you think there's
emancipation.
Hamas people that are secular and cool and don't hate Jews?
Do I think there are Hamas militants? Absolutely, yes,
No, no.
100%.
No, that's not what I asked. I said, do you think there's Hamas
Yeah, I do. I do believe that 100%. Yes.
people that are like chill and secular?
Like this conversation, the way he's asking this question is also, for the record, the way he's asking this question is like specifically to incite. When you have a conversation, when you have an argument with someone, and I think like a lot of people from marginalized backgrounds understand this. I'm not saying I am, okay? I'm white. But when you have a conversation with someone who is just there to try to maybe not really understand fully your position, but instead hit you with some shit, okay? You are not just having a conversation with this other person. You're having a conversation with the entire world, okay? So you have to remember how everyone treats certain words and everyone treats certain concepts. Everyone looks at certain concepts and takes it for granted. Like, this is the reason why I can have a long discussion about the political designation of terrorism, right? And I have many times over. The IRA, the FLN, the Nelson Mandela's party, MEK specifically, or not MEK, the ANC, all considered umquanto or umquante, is that how you say it? Like the spear, including the ANC, but even its more militant factions, were all designated as terror groups, okay? They were all designated as terror groups. They were designated as terrorist groups while they were specifically engaging in an emancipatory struggle. But that conversation doesn't matter in this process, okay? Because when someone goes, you're terrorists, you're supporting terrorists, you sound exactly like terrorists, a lot of people, especially when you fit the bill, if you have a scary sounding name, a lot of people are going to write you off and go, oh, well, that makes sense. So you have to deal with that as well in this conversation.
And they don't hate Jews.
Oh, 100%. Well, yeah, you can yell at me all day for that. I 100,000% believe it. There are fucking 18, 19-year-olds. They don't know anything except fucking bombs being blown up in their heads. That is simply that is simply a means of violent retaliation. I don't think people operate on being bad and being good. I think people operate on, holy fuck, there's a bomb blowing up in my face that killed my fucking family. I hate this fucking state, and I'm going to join whichever faction will allow me to continue fighting against this state. Not every single person is like motivated by like cleansing every Jewish person in Israel. If that was the case, they would not have tried to make a. They would not have tried. Okay, if that was the case, they would not have tried to change their charter and become more and recenter their posturing so that they can get international recognition. Whether it was going to happen or not is one other thing.
The original one was like insane.
Yeah,
And who the
yeah,
fuck's
no,
gonna support
I
that?
agree. Yeah, so we had this conversation already It's so insane to see this jump from basically a civil conversation to Hasan as Osama bin Laden. Remember all the debate bros that love the spirit of debate, love the spirit of battle? Their takeaway from this, which was me being as gentle as possible, talking to a friend who I fear was experiencing some level of cognitive dissonance, was that I made him cry. In that same conversation at the time, he also plugged Teddy Fresh in between when I walked away. No, friend at the time. My point is, the people that, the people basically looked at this and went, well, Ethan didn't make a lot of great points here, so we're just going to talk about how Hasan was a big meanie to him.
To all this backlash himself, writing, question, why is Hasan in a game called Twitch or Terrorist? Answer, because he is accused of supporting terrorism. That is the beginning and end of this analysis. Arguing that there were plenty of quotes on the site that came from non-Muslims and that he didn't even make the site himself, he only played the game on it for a few minutes. And then also saying Hasan's post about the situation was misleading and saying Hasan was accusing him of being Islamophobic for things he didn't even do. But, with
that's the funniest part about it is I don't know who Ethan is going to convince that he's not being Islamophobic when I think, this is not a conversation that has taken that much space in this process, but come on, dude. I mean, the community that made that website is Destiny's community, and Destiny is an open Islamophobe. He's proud of it. He says he is. They've moved past that on the Reddit talking point where they openly say that they are. They're like, oh, they're criticizing a religion. I'm against all religions. On Wednesday's episode, Ethan reviewed several clips of Hasan's content. Several times throughout the episode, he started texting with someone, and it appears they were sending him links.
And influence he had on them, it was to not vote. Could be wrong. And maybe I
haven't heard that from him.
Yeah. Dude, I've seen so many clips. I've seen so many clips.
I've
pull
sort of
Sorry, I'm catching up on.
Sounds like Ethan needs clips of Hasan encouraging people not to vote.
Something.
He's actually saying.
Here, I don't know what that. Pull this video up. I don't know if it's good or not.
It's the Spriggs guy. Ethan Klein was messaging. The Spriggs guy made the logo for that terrorist site. Give me what you got if you can. Destiny's mods urgently ask for a clip of Hasan discouraging people from voting. 3:55 p.m. Pacific. Someone sends the Destiny mod this post. Back to the H3 podcast a few minutes later.
Week of the election or something.
This one's recent. Let's see what this one is. What this fucking
I like that the crew's like, come on, let's speak of the election, please. And he's like, no, we have to speak on Hasan, who does not vote for sure and tells people not to vote. 3:57 p.m. PST. Look at the copy on the bottom left of the screen.
And all the efforts.
Oh, 2 white millionaires argue that voting. Oh yeah, it's directly from Reddit. Wow, what a crazy coincidence. Surely that didn't happen again, right?
No stone unturned here.
Dude,
the answer is here. The proof is right here in the pudding, and we're about to taste the pudding. Can you send? I just sent another clip.
Okay, within minutes from the article. Wait, this is the same one. Destiny's mod requests examples of Hasan discouraging people from voting again at 4:06. Okay, within minutes, I need to find some clips of Hasan discouraging people from voting. Someone provides the clips titled, Hasan is asked when he will endorse Kamala. By the way, I'm willing to bet that that's probably a gray name sock account that was also asking that too.
Here's another one I got. While you guys look for that.
Fighting for a brighter future may be hard work.
Again, look at the title of the video on the bottom of the screen. Endorsing this ticket. I mean, when I see some fucking momentum on Gaza. By the way, in that clip, you want to know what's funny? I think in that clip, I literally talk about how if Kamala Harris actually changes trajectory on Gaza, I would start my door knocking operation tomorrow. That very same clip that they're using. Ethan is in direct contact with people who are creating these websites, doxing and sending mass emails. It was wild. Ethan kept looking for a video of you encouraging not to vote. When it didn't work, he would try to find another one. 3 different videos. Yeah. And it's ironic because I think the day prior to that, prior to the election, I quite literally voted on stream. And I have always urged people to vote. Always. I hope that Ethan can, you know, maybe take a step back from this stuff. And it's not because I'm like genuinely fearful that he is exposing my secret anti-Semitism or he's going to assume I'm saying. I wish him well, just like I wish all of those other haters well. You know what I mean? This even includes Destiny, by the way. Like, I think that he would be an infinitely happier person if he didn't constantly get in his own way. For example,
And
here, I'm going to show you my attitude, and then I'm going to show you his attitude.
I guess my first question is going to be, do you really think Hasan and Mike from PA should kill themselves?
I wish they would. Yes.
Do you think that's at all a harmful statement to make that goes against, I don't know, just objective morality?
No. I think their deaths by suicide would make the world a safer place for more people.
Problem is, like what you said, they make money out of this outside the pleasure they get of this. Yeah. Like, you have a kid, man. You have a child. Like, go take care of your kid. This shit is obviously not good for you. Why are you festering in your own anger and resentment and envy? The drama is definitely profitable. I think that's a key point around this stuff, for sure. But here's the thing, okay? Here's the problem. While the drama is profitable, okay? While the drama is profitable, and I'm sure Asmongold is going to cover what Destiny said here about me and Mike from PA anytime, any day. I'm waiting on it. I'm sure when Asmongold catches wind of this clip, he's going to be very upset, and he's going to denounce Destiny and be like, we got to stop that. This level of hatred and toxicity, unironically, and not just for Destiny himself, but for his entire community, is unhealthy. This level of pathological obsession is unhealthy. Straight up. The technique is common, okay? If he feels embarrassed or slighted by you, and it hurts his like narcissistic ego, he will never let you forgive it, or he will never let you forget it, and he will make your life living hell permanently. He will always try to lolcow you and bully you and attack you and use his community, who is willing participants in this process, forever. There's a reason why so many people that have encountered Destiny who aren't still firmly within his orbit, never to get larger than him, mind you, because God forbid that would be terrifying, are always victim to the same kind of cyber stalking and cyber harassment campaigns. Always looking at why other people are responsible for their favorite internet debate god being perceived as someone who is gross. You know what's interesting is that Destiny's community was trying this before the Israel shit, and Ethan recognized it and saw how insane it was. Interesting, he joined them when they confirmed his own biases. Yeah, I get why D was ignored all the time now on stream from wild behavior from that community. The craziest part is, despite my best attempts of ignoring and hoping that like he will find some success in his life and move on, he never did. This has been ongoing for 5 years. And it's hilarious because it leads to shit like, yeah, Ludwig barely talked about him. His community swarmed him. Weird behavior on their part. They hate Ludwig now. And they were trying to debate Ludwig on how their favorite internet debate lord's vibes were unparalleled and unmatched. Like, think about that, man. What are you doing? Like, you're trying to debate somebody else on vibes? You didn't even you weren't there. You don't know what his own personal feelings on the matter are. Like, that's crazy. Why are you doing that? Ludwig is like mathematically the least hateable person. Being like, no, I hate him because he's Hasan's a bitch boy. Hasan is like mind controlling him. And not to mention how we talked about cutie or slime. It's just all toxicity all the way down,
With all that said, I do have to pass the question off to you, though. I do want to segment this. Like, for the more general audience, I'd love to know your thoughts here specifically, right? Because this is just one chapter in a much larger saga of a fallout. But then also separately, for people that are a part of either of these communities, right? The H3 community, the Hasan Piker community, there was some overlap for a while. I don't know how much exists now. What's your take on this whole situation, including where we are right now?
I go to the comments and everyone's talking about the Onion buying the InfoWars. All right. Your video on that drama is excellent and
okay.
still relevant. Oh,
You
yeah, this
need-
was so funny, dude. Destiny's community is insane. Ludwig said Destiny's vibes were off, and Destiny's community made a whole documentary about the situation. Like, you can't operate like that, man. That's not good for you, big dog. I promise that's not good for you.